Alright, I know I have been gone for a while, but instead of giving you guys a 7-page essay for why I was gone, I'm just going to give you guys this picture of a puppy. Hopefully, that makes up for the whole year I was gone. But anyway, on to the review. Now, before I get into the remake, we obviously gotta talk about the original. So Resident Evil 4 came out in 2001, and out of all the Resident Evil games that came before it, this game took the series in a whole new direction. The zombies were replaced by demons, Leon now has white hair and a sword, and the gameplay was now a hack and slash. Wait a minute. Devil May. Shit! So Resident Evil 4 came out in 2005, and out of all the Resident Evil games that came before it, this game took the series in a whole new direction. Gone were the zombies and pre-rendered backgrounds of the old games, where instead we now have a fully rendered 3D experience where a white man casually massacres a group of Spanish people. What? And where in previous games it only focused on horror, this game was not only scary, but it was also an action thrill ride at its peak. And you would think pushing it more towards action would ruin the horror, but in my opinion, it actually made the game a lot more scarier. Because unlike the slow-ass zombies in the previous games, the enemies in this game barely gives you room to breathe. Resident Evil 4 upped the intensity by 11 with the Ganados. They were far more intelligent than zombies. They were enemies with weapons, enemies that could shoot you, and enemies that could wield a fucking chainsaw. There's a reason why everyone loves the merchant in this game, because whenever you see that blue fire in a distance, it gives you a sense of comfort, a chance to finally breathe after fighting a dozen tentacle people, a whole fucking giant, and whatever the hell this is. This game for a lot of people was the peak of Resident Evil, and not only do people consider this to be one of their favorite Resident Evil games, but a lot of people consider this to be their favorite video game of all time. So when Capcom confirmed that they were going to remake this game, the people who have never played Resident Evil 4 were extremely thrilled to finally get a chance to play it, even though they had plenty of chances to play the original, considering that Capcom has ported this game onto literally everything. But then we have people like me who actually played the original game, and our reaction was... And the reason my reaction was like... was for two reasons. Reason number one, the expectations for this game were going to be insane. For as nutty as Resident Evil fans are, if they were to miss even a single detail from the original, the OG fans would burn Capcom alive. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean that they will literally go to all of Capcom studios and find the writers, producers, game designers, music designers, fucking janitors, and will do what the Ganados did to the police officer. And with reason number two, if you have watched my review of the Resident Evil 3 remake, link in the description, you would know that being a fan of the original Resident Evil 3 was difficult around that time, because there were so many things in the RE3 remake that were cut out from the original, and what they did to Nemesis in that remake was absolutely disappointing. So after coming from that remake to now a remake of one of Capcom's most beloved games of all time, you can see why I was a bit skeptical. So with that being said, March 24, 2023 rolled around and the Resident Evil 4 remake was finally released to the public. So the question that everyone is wondering, did the remake live up to the original? Well,
Body's bullshit blazing, still my heart is blazing.
Yeah, they proved me wrong. I was absolutely shocked that this game was not only faithful to the original, but it honest to God surpassed it. So in this game, you play as Leon S. Kennedy, as he is appointed to retrieve the president's missing daughter in a mysterious village in Spain. And during this time, he gets attacked by villagers, cultists, giants, the cast of Parasite, as Leon slowly starts to wonder, these villagers are acting weird. So now Leon's goal is to retrieve the president's daughter and to escape this village under any means necessary. So the story is very much the same as the original, but what has completely changed is the fact that I actually give a shit about these characters. In the original game, I didn't mind Luis, but I also didn't care about him either. So when he, spoiler alert, in 5, got impaled like a shish kebab and died, I didn't really feel sad at all because I didn't have any emotional attachment to him. It also didn't help that Leon just straight up pronounced his name wrong as he died.
Louis!
Who's Louis. But in the remake, Luis is such a better character. They give him more screen time, more development, and you partner up with him throughout the game. And then we have Ashley, who in the original game was like,
Help me, Leon! Help! Leon!
honestly, they didn't have to do much to make me like Ashley in the remake. All I needed was a more fleshed out character and a roll of duct tape. Not in a sexual way. Ashley in the original game was so annoying, but in this game, I actually enjoyed talking to her. It also helps that Ashley looks less like a teenager in this game and looks more like a woman. What happened? Even her AI has improved, giving you only 2 commands and no health bar to worry about. And even though she still gets captured from time to time, it was far less annoying than anything the original ever did. Ashley in this game is more bubbly, less cliched, and slowly becomes less scared throughout the game. By the end of the game, she legit starts to remind me of Heather from Silent Hill 3. Starting to see where they got the inspiration for the remake. And I love the chemistry that her and Leon have in this game. And even though I am Ada for life, I will skin a man for my China girl. You cannot tell me that the remade versions of Leon and Ashley don't look more like a couple. But fuck that love shit. Let's get into the combat. Yeah, you see that shit right there? Yeah, I like that shit. I like that shit. Yeah, that's gameplay right there. That ain't a cutscene, that's gameplay. Yeah,
And big
big
muscles.
man, big chest,
Bumping meat.
bumping me. Yeah. The combat is the best it has ever been in a Resident Evil game. And yes, I know some of you like the first-person style in Resident Evil 7 and Village, and some of you masochists actually like the tank control styles of the originals. I'm going to die tomorrow. But for me, the over-the-shoulder style will always be my preferred way to play any Resident Evil game. From this point on, every Resident Evil game should be played like this. The gunplay and the melee in this game is top-notch, but none of that even comes close to the best weapon in the game, the combat knife. I leveled this and the Red 9 all the way up to max, and by that point on, I was basically untouchable. The combat knife has saved my life more than any other weapon in the game, and the parry system added on top of that was fucking nutty. You can parry almost everything in this game. Everything. And I'm going to say this right now, for whatever the next Resident Evil game will be, please? You gotta keep the inventory case system from this game. There is no reason to change it. That being said, I actually hated the auto sort feature in this game. People can hate me all they want, but I want this feature removed in the next game. I see it this way. If a player can manually sort out their inventory space, then they most likely can manually sort out their life too, Mark. But I will say, the one thing I was worried about after playing the Resident Evil 2 remake was the soundtrack. I love the Resident Evil 2 remake, but the game was quiet. Too quiet. Not in a scary way, like, where is the soundtrack? But the moment I knew that this was going to be a good remake was when I walked to the typewriter for the first time and I immediately heard the remade version of the save room theme. Unlike the RE2 remake where I couldn't hear a damn thing. Now, if I were to go into some complaints, there would be 3 that come to mind. The first one is small. I just wish that Leon had more snarky dialogue like in the original. He still has a few one-liners here and there, but not on the level of the original.
You got a smoke?
Got gum. Your right hand comes off? No thanks, bro.
And for the second complaint, I really wish they kept the enemy comms from the original, where the villains hack into your communicator and talk to you throughout the game. Those conversations had some of my favorite pieces of dialogue, and it was a great way to showcase the villains before your eventual boss fights with them. It's one of the main reasons I still prefer the original Salazar over the remake. That being said, the remake does have the better boss fight. And now for my third complaint, which is my biggest complaint considering that this woman is in my top 10 favorite females in video games. But before I say what it is, I honestly don't blame the actress for this. I simply blame the people who accepted this performance. You guys already know what it is. To put it simply, the voice performance for Ada Wong in this game is not good.
Got a smoke?
I do. The kind you like. Now where's the amber?
I don't know what the voice director was going for, but she sounds extremely monotone in this game, and that is not Ada at all. Ada's voice has always been the perfect mixture of playful, mysterious, and sexy, and I sense none of that in the voice delivery. And before any of you say, "Oh, you just don't like change, you just don't like the new voices because they're different," well, that's weird considering that I like the new voice of Leon, the new voice of Louise. As a matter of fact, Jack Krauser's voice sounds very different from the original game. But it didn't bother me because the voice actor still held the emotional depth and intimidating presence of Jack Krauser so well that I got used to it very quickly.
I've prepared a battlefield up ahead just for us soldiers.
You're too soft to do what's necessary. Witness the power!
Whereas for Ada, she just sounds so emotionless.
You don't seem surprised. Interesting.
Why are y'all doing this to my little China girl? I can handle a new voice if you make it work, and the best example of that is Ashley, because I prefer her voice in this game way more than the original. It also didn't help that I knew that the original voice actress was the same voice as Sandy Cheeks and Cindy Vortex, so whenever I hear Ashley's voice in the original, I'm just waiting for her to call Leon at one point. But with all that said, the Resident Evil 4 remake gave us some amazing gameplay, amazing boss fights, more developed characters, amazing visuals, and a phenomenal atmosphere. Even with the complaints that I have with this game, none of them will change the fact that this game is a phenomenal remake from beginning to end. Though with that being said, please Capcom, give us a Code Veronica remake! That game needed a remake more than this game! As a matter of fact, you can just call it Resident Evil 5. I won't bitch if it's not in Africa. So with all that said, my final verdict for the Resident Evil 4 remake is the golden seal of approval.